If I can change anything about my body, I'll have wings because I can fly to McDonald's.
I would change my legs into a mermaid tail so I can swim like a mermaid.
I would change my legs, like my thighs, make them a bit slimmer.
I thought labia were like fingernails, like they had no sensation. So I tried to cut them off with kitchen scissors when I was 12.
At what age do we stop wishing for magical things for our body and start wishing to change body parts that function perfectly well to fit society's idea of beauty?
We all look completely different, and we shouldn't feel shame because media or society has given us this idea of what we should look like.
What started off as a vulva gallery has turned into a global movement helping people open up communication with sexual health and sexual education.
I don't want to change anything.
I'm Ellie Sedgwick, and welcome to Comfortable in My Skin. Happy Wednesday, Eleanor.
Hello, I'm so happy to be back.
Welcome back. Our last episode on BJ's was
the best. It was so much fun. Yeah. And now we're here to talk about pussies.
Pussies. Yes. So I had some bad feedback, which led to us creating a whole episode on how to give a good blowjob. This week, we thought, you know what?
Let's talk about pussies. How to eat pussy, how to lick pussy, how to go down, how to finger, all the good things. And I feel like, Ellie, you wouldn't really have too much bad feedback in this realm. I feel like you got this on lock.
I actually have never had bad feedback on how to eat when I've eaten someone's pussy. So that's why I'm super excited, because I feel like I've got good stuff to share.
Totally. You're like, I've got the tips, I've got the tricks. Don't even worry. I don't need to hear Eleanor.
Last week it was all you.
We can bounce. We can bounce
off each other this time and share the knowledge.
Amazing. Can I ask you, were you always super confident when it came to the puss?
No.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, that makes me feel better because I'm a late in life bi gal and I was so nervous.
Yeah, I guess when I first started, it was more me exploring. This is going to sound very crazy. I think a lot of people will relate. But when I was in primary school, I used to have a friend over to the house.
Yes.
And we would say, I had a loft in my bedroom and there was a floorboard like below my loft. Yeah. And it was the Barbies. It was all Barbies. I had every single kind of Barbie, Ken, like the whole setup. And I would have a friend come over and we would write on my chalkboard, do you want to bounce on the trampoline? Do you want to play hide and seek? Or do you want to play Barbies? And if we selected Barbies, we would go up there and we would explore together.
Oh my gosh, so Barbie was your code word. Did you even know about scissoring back then? I love this.
So the funny thing is somebody wrote in to me this week asking if it was normal to have explored with someone at such a young age. And I was so excited because I was like, me and this girl did this.
This is the most normal thing ever. I feel like we're going to have to put up a poll after this episode because I feel like this is the most common girlhood
I did a poll,
experience.
Babe.
Did you?
I did a poll.
I love that you did a poll. Okay. I feel like this is so common. I had the same thing and there was so much shame as well because I was thinking, oh gosh, is there something wrong with me that I'm so sexual at such a young age? But it's just so normal.
It's so normal.
Grinding up on your friends, playing house, playing Barbies, just exploring. Because you get to a point where you discover your clit and you're like, this feels really good. And you just want to rub it on everything, including your friends. And sometimes that continues well into adulthood.
So a girl wrote in, the first time I remember seeing a vulva was when I was 7 years old. My bestie and I had a bath together and we showed each other. And then we rubbed our vulvas together, just two girls exploring in the bath.
Yes.
And I said, did you explore with a friend under the age of 10? And so 56% said yes and 44% said no, and thousands of people answered. So most people said yes, which really validates that. And it really made me feel like, oh my God, yes,
totally
I wasn't
normal.
the only one. But like you said, I never stopped.
This episode is sponsored by Intimate Ecology. Having issues with your vulvovaginal or urinary health, recurrent BV, recurrent thrush, herpes outbreaks, UTIs every time you have sex. Intimate Ecology is an online naturopathic telehealth service focusing on all things genitals, whilst also breaking down the shame and stigma. From recurrent BV, UTI, thrush, uroplasma and mycoplasma, HSV to non-specific vaginal microbiome imbalances, all the way to pelvic pain or the unexplained, where you've been told nothing is wrong. Fuck that. These naturopaths have seen it all and can work with you to find strategies when nothing else seems to be working. My God, have we all been there? Intimate Ecology is experienced in supporting people with a range of health issues with compassion and evidence-based interventions. They use holistic principles to find individual interventions and can work with you individually and your current providers if required. Appointments are now available. Visit www.intimateecology.com.au or Intimate Ecology on Instagram and Facebook for more information and to book an appointment.
And it's funny because when I first started going to bush stuffs, which is a very thing I think everybody should go to a bush stuff. For those not in Australia, it's where you go and dance in the bush pretty much. But I remember just exploring my sexuality so much there. And yeah, it's like this place where people can be free and expressive. And when I traveled, that was also when I hooked up with so many girls, because when my girlfriends found out that I went down on other girls, I remember them being like, yuck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it wasn't like what it is now. I remember one friend being like, that is so gross. I got full on shamed.
Really? By your friends? That is so wild, because firstly, to shame someone for their sexual preferences, that's cooked. But secondly, to shame someone for going down on the parts that you have, that's like almost like it's internalizing this like disgust for our own bodies.
I know.
It's like, if you think it's gross for someone else to go down on a vulva, then you must think it's gross for your partner, who in this case is probably heterosexual, like opposite gender. You think it's gross for them to go down on you. So how much pleasure are you not allowing yourself to have? Like that's
so
wild
true.
To me.
Yes. So then when I went overseas and worked on the super yachts when I was in my 20s, lived in India, I remember that's when I was like massively hooking up with girls and going down on pussy. And I feel like I was so excited.
Yeah.
Because I was like safe from judgment.
Totally. Yeah. You're like away from all the people who are talking about it.
Yeah. And this is how I really wanted to start this ep, was on safety. So
Yes.
The first thing I wanted to share with you on eating pussy is to create a safe space.
Yeah.
So speaking of safety, this is the foundation of having a good sexual experience when eating pussy. So the first thing I wanted to share with you is to create a safe space. If a safe space isn't created, no tongue tactic that Eleanor's going to share with you today is going to save you. No clit sucking, tapping, finger in the bum, sitting on face. Nothing that she teaches you will help the sexual experience if the person that you're going down on doesn't feel safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Eleanor, I'm pretty sure that safety is the foundation to your whole course, Tongue Tactics, How to Eat a Pussy.
Absolutely.
Am I correct?
Yeah, you are so correct. It's the first thing that I go into in Tongue Tactics, because we need to feel deeply, deeply comfortable, and we need plenty of time to warm up and be ready to receive any type of penetration or touch. We need to feel like the person that is going down on us really cares and isn't just sort of using us. And it's such a vulnerable part of our bodies that has received so much shame throughout our lives that it can feel really, really scary to kind of like spread your legs and open wide and be like, okay, cool, I'm going to receive pleasure now. So safety is like absolutely paramount.
What are some tips that people can do to feel sexually safe?
I think it's about trust. Like you need to know that your partner is trustworthy and that they're not the kind of person who would make rude comments or rush you, expect you to come really fast. And if anyone does that, I think that's like a huge red flag that they shouldn't necessarily be part of your sexual life. And you also want someone who's going to be really complimentary. I think if you're wanting to create safety for your partner, firstly, of course, we've got that concept of the outside in, which we can talk about a little bit later. But when you are going down on someone, really using your words and being complimentary and telling them that they taste so good and telling them like, oh my gosh, I love the way that you smell, or like, you're so beautiful. I love the way your pussy looks. Things like that, because it's going to just allow the person, the receiver, to soften and release and let go. Because so often what we do is we will kind of tense up and get a little bit nervous, or we won't allow ourselves that full experience of pleasure. And so the more that our partner makes us feel safe and comfortable, and also they're not rushing us, like, I'm here all day, I could be between your legs all day long, I can't wait to worship you all night, take as long as you need, I'm here for you. Like, this kind of language is going to be so helpful, because too often we're in our heads thinking, fuck, I need to come fast, or like, oh, they're probably hating this, or what if they're not enjoying it, or oh, I wonder how I taste. And so the more that you can allow people to just get out of their heads completely and just like kind of cancel out any thoughts that they could be having with your words, is such a game changer. So as someone who has had self-consciousness around your vulva, what do you think would help you, or what has helped you the most?
My answers to that is a little bit random. So I've only done this once, but it really worked. I got someone to shave my legs and my vulva. I know that sounds very weird, but it was like this practice of connection, trust. Like, to have someone shave your vulva, you have to have so much trust.
Absolutely.
And he started at like my ankles, and he was doing it so delicately. And then he worked up his way up my legs. And then I was in the bathtub with like one leg up on there, and he held my labia and put it flat and shaved my whole vulva.
Oh, wow. That is so intimate. Like,
it's so
such trust.
Intimate. And I'm telling you, the sex we had after that was crazy. And then obviously the person that I spoke about in my first ever episode, who asked me to stand still and look at my vulva because could tell I was insecure. So those two experiences, I guess what they were both doing is creating trust, safety, like, again, communication, and making me feel like they wanted to help me feel okay. And it was never a fast process. It's like, let me see everything, because if you are worried about the length of your labia, or a hemorrhoid, or a mole, or hair, or, you know, things like that, it's like, well, if they've seen it and they still, you know, they still want to go down on you, then there's nothing else to hide. It's like coming fully out and being like, look, this is my body, this is my labia. If you don't love and worship it, then you don't deserve to be here.
Amen.
Amen.
Fucking brilliantly
Worship
said.
my vulva.
Worship me or else.
So yeah, they're two sort of random things that I feel have helped me. And maybe if you're in a long-term relationship, I feel like emotional connection and emotional safety. Re-talk about everything. Like, what are you feeling when I go down on you? And just seeing if there's new things, or Reese talking about insecurities that have maybe been there from the beginning, but just bringing all the insecurities to the top and talking about it until they're not even interesting anymore because you've talked about it so much.
Yeah, totally. Just sort of lessening the charge.
But if I go into sleeping with someone that I haven't been with before and we haven't had a conversation around my vulva insecurities, it's not a good time for me in my head. It has to be talked about and put on the table and then worked through.
So how do you bring that up? Like, how would you start that conversation?
So it's actually really hard for me because Comfortable My Skin's gotten quite big and everyone knows. And so it's like, it is a bit of a strange thing because of that. But if I'm sleeping with someone, I usually say, hey, I just want to let you know that I've been quite insecure of this part of my body. So I really need to feel like loved and held while you're down there. I need to know that you want to be down there. And like what you said, I love it when you're vocal. So I just tell them that. I want to hear that you're enjoying it.
Yes.
And I say, if you don't want to be down there, then don't. We can do so many other things there's so many other pleasure intimacy acts that we can do if you don't enjoy eating pussy, because I know not everyone likes everything. So sort of giving them the option, and then usually they're like, are you kidding?
They're like, oh, let's go to town. Bon appetit,
on my
baby.
face. Sit on my face, sit on my face, sit on my face. So yeah, I like to talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important, particularly if you do have those insecurities, to just make it known. And then it really is, it's almost like a test in a way. Have you ever had someone who's like, oh, like, why do we need to talk about it? What are you doing? It's usually pretty well received, right?
Yeah, it's always been very well received. If it wasn't, I'm in the stage of my life where I'd be like, you don't know how to communicate. There's so many things in life that we're going to need to communicate about, especially in sex. So I can't be with someone that doesn't have those skills.
Yeah, and they probably haven't even gotten to that stage if they don't have those skills. Yes. Like, I'm not letting someone into my bedroom if I haven't already like vetted them to a point where I'm like, okay, we can talk about things and I feel safe and comfortable.
Yeah,
with
they're not
person.
even anywhere close to my pussy.
No. No thanks.
And they have to prioritize my pleasure.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
else I don't want anything to do with them.
No way. We don't have time for that.
No. So you have a fantastic course called Tongue Tactics.
Yes, I do.
Can you share us a little few of the tips and tricks?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I've got the two versions of Tongue Tactics, Pussy Pro and BJ Queen. So I'll talk all about Pussy Pro today. So again, the safety component, the communication is absolutely key, and that kind of is the thing that underpins everything when it comes to Pussy Pro. And then I like to start with pleasure anatomy. So in my course, I teach all about the vulva, the clitoris, all of the anatomy, because so many people don't really understand what's going on, particularly because our anatomy is internal, right? It's not just like laying out there for us to see. There's a lot that goes on like underneath that once we understand how it all works, it's just such a game changer. So I can talk through the pleasure anatomy. I also like to talk through the idea of working from the outside in. And then I've got some tips and tricks. So what shall I hit you with first?
Hit me with anatomy, because that's the base that everyone should know before they're eating pussy.
Amazing.
You don't want to go in blindsided and be like,
what is this? I don't understand.
What is this?
And also, I feel like this myth that people don't know where the clit is
I'm bored of it.
Same. I'm so bored of it.
I'm bored of it.
It's like, it's right there. It's just the apex. Okay, everyone's got a different size clit. The clitoral hood might be larger or smaller, but like, I don't think people are like completely blind that they don't know where it is or what it looks like. It's more that they're not understanding how to stimulate it properly, or there is no communication happening between the vulva owner and the vulva.
Because some people's clits are super sensitive. I've been with some girls and they're like, you have to literally blow on my clit. And
totally.
That's enough.
Yeah.
But some people are like,
grind on me.
Yeah, like put your tongue on it, put your tongue flat and press it.
Yeah.
And they'll hold your head and be like, oh.
Totally.
Until they come. So, I mean, same as everything, you need to communicate and ask that person. But yeah, I'm bored of I can't find your clit.
Yeah, it's like, we know where it is, guys.
But I have done photo shoots with people and I've asked them, this is coming in the upcoming book, to lift their labia and show their clit, and they haven't known how to do it. And if you're listening and this was you, I'm not shaming you. It is a lack of sex education. Eleanor and I are very deep in this world. So that's why maybe we're a bit bored of it. We're like, how could you not know? But it's society's fault that you don't know. So it is actually really cool if you get out your tools, Eleanor, and give him a little lesson.
I'll give you a little lesson. Okay, amazing. So I've got two different versions here. I've got Vivian the vulva here, which is like a big soft sort of puppet. And then I've also got my clitoris model as well. So I think it's really important to understand pleasure anatomy in the scope of working from the outside in. So I'll sort of get to pleasure anatomy once we talk through like everything that needs to happen before we get there. Because too often there's this sort of idea that, okay, we just make out for a little bit and then it's like grind. I'm going to lick, and then boom, fingers or cock or whatever inside. And it's just too fast and we need the time to warm up. And so I like to talk through these gates of arousal, these stages of arousal, if you will. And so before we ever get to the pussy, we need to build up this sense of arousal Arousal is like the physical manifestation of desire. It's like the lubrication, it's the flushed cheeks, it's feeling turned on. And so we've got to build that up. First layer, first stage of arousal is completely void of touch. And so that's like the eye contact, that's the flirting, that's the conversation, that's like you're making me horny like through my brain. Texts, it could be like flirty texts. For people who are like more sapiosexual, it's like that intellectual conversation. So that's like the first level. And then you start to work from the outside in. And so the next stage would be touch, but of the non-erogenous zones. And so this could be really platonic in nature. But if there's an undertone of flirting and like romantic interest, then like a simple hand on the knee, oh, that could feel so hot.
Or maybe you hold my hand.
Exactly.
In
like
the kitchen.
Holding hands.
You quickly
so
just like come past and like.
Exactly. Just those little touches, or like you're out to dinner and you're just like having a little laugh and then you just like gently touch their elbow.
Put a little bit of hair behind their ear.
Yeah, exactly. Like the cute little touches that could be totally innocent and platonic, but in the right context, it's like you start to get like a little bit of like a little like flutter in your pussy because you're like, damn, that's hot. Oh my gosh, like they touched me, but it wasn't sexually explicit. Then we move in a little bit to the erogenous zones, and this is where like the lips and the tongue and the whole mouth and the ears and the neck, that comes into play because we have all these amazing nerve endings that are like connected and will sort of start to wake everything up. And so the more that we kiss and make out and use our tongue and like nibble and suck on the ear and like lick the neck, that's going to start like, you can feel it, can't you? You're like, oh yeah. So like bring back the makeout sesh and really like start to waken that up, right?
Love everything that you just said. Makeout sesh, ear nibbling, neck to kissing.
Yeah, like it's so
Sorry
nice.
if you're driving and you feel really horny right now.
You're welcome.
It's not safe, Eleanor, what we're doing to the people.
Sorry about it. I'm gonna slip off their seat. Then we can like take it a little bit closer. And so we're sort of moving down, and we've got the breasts, we've got the nipples. The nipples, if people are stimulating the nipples, they light up the same area of the brain as the clit. And so there's like this direct line. Some people love it, some people hate it. But really like taking time to worship the breasts, especially if people have insecurities as well. It's like, tell someone how amazing their titties are and like lick that nip. And if they like it, you can suck or bite. Again, not everyone loves it, so communicate, but just know that using some like amazing like massage strokes around the breast area is going to start to like get the pussy
awaken the body.
Exactly. Then we start moving down closer to the actual vulva. But before you even get to the vulva, like think about like the inner thighs. You know, when someone is like so close and like in between your legs, they've like spread open your legs, they've got like their hands on your thighs, and maybe they start like massaging, getting closer and closer. Ellie's looking at me like, what the fuck? Don't do this to me.
I'm a horn bag. I'm horny.
And you know, like they're so close, and then they like maybe lick up along the inner thigh, so close, but not quite on the vulva.
Yeah, they're
and
going
they
just
kiss. Yeah,
I love
sensitive
this soft,
flesh.
sensual touch.
Yeah, maybe like a little sort of like light scratch or a breath.
Hot breath up the leg.
So essentially what I want you to be feeling is, as the receiver, I want you to be damn near begging for someone to lick your pussy. And especially when it comes to penetration, I want you to be damn near begging someone to put something inside of you, whether it's fingers, a dildo, or a cock. Like, you need to be so ready that you're just like aching for it.
Your pussy is like a flower opening.
Exactly. And so this is where I'll start to talk a little bit more about the actual pleasure anatomy, right? Because we've got the vulva, and I'll go through from the outside in. We've got the outer labia. So we've got the outer and the inner labia. The inner labia are the more sensitive lips, the ones that can protrude out. Sometimes people have outer labia that cover the inner, but everyone's really different. So you can see on Vivian, her inner labia are larger, whereas on my other model, this one doesn't have a name. Ellie, can you name this model?
What about biscuit? It looks like a biscuit.
Biscuit? Okay. Biscuit. I was going to go for like Penny the Pussy or something, but biscuit.
Cookie.
You know what's funny? When I used to teach pole dancing, when I first started, before I bought my studio and started teaching, I remember all of the instructors being like, oh, okay, and in this move, just make sure that you like are really, really gentle. You don't want to hit your cookie. And I was like, what the fuck is a cookie? It was a vulva. And I was like, that's just such a weird term for vulva. But yeah, it's a whole thing.
In South Africa, it's very popular.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, I had wondered where it came from.
Yeah,
but
I think it's South Africa.
Different names. So, you know, you don't want to hit your cookie on a pole, lest it crumble. Anyway, back to pleasure anatomy. So on this model, the inner labia are a bit smaller, right? But we've got the outer labia that is more similar in skin to like the inner thighs, and then the inner labia, which is more of that sensitive tissue. And underneath the inner and outer labia is the clitoris. And so for those who can see, and we'll put this up on your Insta as well, you can actually see that the clitoris is so much more than just what we can externally see. So for a lot of people, you might have a clitoral hood that completely covers the clit most of the time. And then when you start to get aroused and you're starting to feel turned on, that clitoral hood might lift a little bit and you might have your clit sort of expose itself more. Other people, their clitoral hood is quite small and their clitoris is larger. It all different shapes and sizes, just like, you know, our ears and our noses. But what's really, really cool is that it's not just that little bud, that little pearl that we can see externally. It's actually this entire network underneath our vulva. So what we can see here is it looks like a wishbone kind of moment. I think it almost looks like a little person with their arms like on either side. So you can see in this model, we've got the tip of the clit, the glans clitoris that we can see from the outside, and then it's got the entire extremities going down underneath the inner and the outer labia. And so we've got the legs, the crura here, and then we've got the vestibular bulbs or the clitoral bulbs. And in this model, you can see that the vestibular bulbs, which sit either side of the vaginal canal, so they're just there most of the time, just hanging out. In this model right now, they are non-aroused. So what's really, really important for us to understand about the clitoris is that it is made of erectile tissue, just like the penis. Because when we're all in utero, up until I think it's about 7 weeks, we all start with basically the start of a vulva, the start of a clitoris. And then chromosomes kind of come into play, and then our body decides which way to go with the genitalia, in or out. And we get assigned male or female at birth, depending on which way our genitals went, essentially. And so the clit, a lot of people think the clit is like a tiny penis. It's actually that the penis is a large clit. It's homologous, which means that it is the same. It starts off the same and then just chooses which direction it goes. And so it's the same sort of structure. It's erectile tissue, and that means that when we're aroused, when we're sufficiently aroused, it's going to fill with blood and allow us to feel even more pleasure. So right now I've got this clitoris that has these bulbs on either side of the vaginal canal. And right now, because cookie, whatever, is not turned on, those vestibular bulbs are just kind of flaccid, just like a penis would be if it's not turned on. But then if I've had adequate arousal, we've taken the time for the blood to flow there. And the difference is that for a penis, it tends to take like seconds, minutes to get hard and for the blood to flow in. But for us, it takes a bit longer for that blood to flow into the bulbs of the clitoris, maybe 20 to 40 minutes of like arousal before it will fill with blood, and suddenly those bulbs are like engorged and they're juicy and they're full of blood. And that means that any penetrative pleasure is going to feel so, so much better.
And that's probably why so many people are so swollen after they've had sex, because that is vestibular bowls are so engorged with blood. And so, you know, when you've been having like a really great time, me recently, then you have a swollen pussy.
Exactly. And I remember the first time that I really noticed that, and I went to pee after sex and I was like, oh my God, am I okay? Am I swollen? Did something happen?
It's totally normal.
It's like actually the best sign. It means that you are adequately turned on. And that's like when you're really ready, because your vulva has like had space and time to fill up with blood and feel enough pleasure for everything to be even more pleasurable than it ever could be.
Yeah. So if you're opening up swollen, it is a good thing. It means you're turned on.
Yeah, definitely. So we want to take our time to get there. And so that's why those stages of arousal are so important. So we can get to the labia. And what's really fun is to consider, okay, now that I know the clitoris has so much going on underneath the vulva, I know where I can massage to sort of indirectly stimulate the clit. So on this model, right, I'll be going around. So you kind of have like peace fingers, for example, and you can go from the tip of the clit, like over the clitoral hood, and then around either side in between the inner and outer lips of the labia, and start to kind of like draw that little line down. And that is stimulating the clit from the outside as well, not just the tip, you know? So that's a really fun thing to do.
So that's a cool little move.
Yeah. So then to continue with pleasure anatomy, we've also got underneath the clitoris itself, we've got the urethra, which is where we pee from, and then we've got the vaginal opening. Now, the vaginal opening itself has a lot of nerve endings, and so it can be so nice to actually play around here rather than just thinking, oh, okay, it's the opening, that's where we just go fully in. Like, take your time. I love when people like lick here and like even like put just like their tongue in a little bit, or just like a finger around. That's so hot, before going all the way in. And then we've got so many zones inside, so we can talk all about the pleasure zones internally as well.
So can you run us through the pleasure zones inside, starting with the G-spot?
Totally. So we've got the G-spot, which is it tends to be a couple inches internally. Everyone's is quite different. Some might be really, really close to the vaginal opening, and it's that like in and up hooking sort of
about
motion.
knuckle deep, I'd say,
About
for a lot
knuckle
of people.
Deep. Yeah. Yeah. Ellie's like, from experience, it's about knuckle deep. So a lot of people talk about like those come hither fingers, right?
Oh, we're going to go through this again. Me and Eleanor have this thing. We were laying in bed one night about 3 years ago, and I was like, how do you finger someone? What fingers do you use? And she does the Spider-Man fingers. So the ring finger and the rude finger, and then she does the come hither action, whereas I
do like peace fingers
and the come hither. But to be honest, I think from being so close to you, Eleanor, I'm finding myself now that when I'm with a partner, I have been slowly changing.
Oh my God, my influence is deep.
To the Spider-Man, because I fought for this hard, guys. So it's a little bit of my sheep tail being like, I think I'm going to the other side.
I am so happy to hear this.
You are right that you can have the pinky finger and the pointer finger on the outer labia, and then you can have the two middle fingers on the inside. And then you can have literally the thumb.
There's so much going on here. Okay, let me like walk through that for the people listening. So when you're fingering someone, you do have a couple different options, and you can do whatever the hell you want, whatever feels good. And there's pros and cons between each type of fingering technique. So classic style is peace fingers, your pointer and your middle finger, and you'll sort of, do your little like come hither or your hook sort of motion, and then get on in there, find the G spot and kind of pull forward. You can do the come hither where you're like, really bending the fingers. This one, the pro of this is that you can, the pro of this one, so I'm going to salute you there, Ellie. The pro of the peace fingers is that you can actually get a little bit more range of motion. So they're going to be stronger than the other two that we'll talk about in a minute. And you can also sort of really use your like shoulder and your elbow.
You can put your whole
like,
body into it.
Yeah, like you could have one hand sort of down on top of the vulva or like the lower belly and then like really be like pulling up to get that like really intense G-spot stimulation. So that's
the pros.
The peace fingers. Then my personal favorite is Spider-Man hands or bowling ball fingers, right?
Bowling ball.
Yeah. I actually went bowling the other day.
And you were like, I've got really good strength in these fingers.
Like, I'm so strong. But also I was like, I just feel so inappropriate. I'm like just fingering all of these balls.
It's so hard to not make your mind go there when you're bowling.
I can't not. It's just like, okay. And then you know how you test out which
all the balls?
So we've got the other finger options. So this is your middle and your ring finger, and it works great for self-pleasure and for pleasuring someone else. So if I'm going to sort of do this on myself, I'm going to put those two fingers inside, and then what I can feel with this is that I can have my pinky and my pointer finger framing the labia. And so that kind of creates this motion of like massaging the outer or in between the inner and the outer labia, which we know the clit is kind of underneath there somewhere. And so that acts as like a nice little frame. And you've also got the heel of your palm that could be like rubbing and grinding on the clit at the same time. Or your thumb kind of pulls around and is like, there you go. So you've got some options. Then if you're going down on someone and they're facing this way, right? And you're in between thighs, face in the middle of their legs, like facing the pussy. You've got your two fingers, your Spider-Man hands going in. And then again, you've got that pinky and pointer acting as a frame to sort of massage up there. Then what you could be doing is like face planting, just like motorboating the clit. Or you've got your thumb here, or you could do heel as well. The other hand could also get involved. It doesn't have to be just a one-handed show, but there's so much more that you can do from this position, I think, than with these fingers, especially because like I feel like that just
you don't know what to do with the pinky and the
I'm
ring
like,
finger.
Why are these two just dangling? Like they're useless. Whereas here, do you look at you to work, baby. So, team Spider-Man hands.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Look, I'm gonna say it. I'm team Spider-Man hands. I am
converted.
I'm converted. But when I'm doing it to myself, self-pleasuring, I actually prefer to use these fingers.
Okay.
Maybe it's because that's what I'm used to. And also, I like putting them inside of me every single time I shower. And I was wondering, I spoke about this with Morgan Penn in episode 2 or 3, but we didn't speak on it. But do you do that every time you shower?
Do I put my fingers in my pussy every time I shower?
Every single time I shower.
You know, I don't know if I'm the best person to ask because I actually am not a huge fingering fan. Like the way that I masturbate very rarely involves my own fingers.
Really?
Yeah. Like I don't love it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. And it's taken me a while to like actually enjoy other people fingering me too.
Really?
So I don't know if I'm the best person to ask. Other people probably do, but I'm like,
I wait till the end of the shower when my fingers are clean, obviously. And then I always feel myself. I love checking where my cervix is at, like feeling my cervix and see if it's dropped down or gone up. And I love moving my fingers around, stirring around and pulling out and seeing what, like if I'm ovulating or what's going on there.
I love that. That's a really good thing to check as well.
Yeah. And then I just always end up fingering myself.
What great showers. How long do you take in the shower?
I mean, I don't do anything else. I never wash my hair. I never shave my legs. So my whole shower pretty much contains me fingering myself.
So like anytime I'm like, okay, cool, Ellie hasn't shaved, I know what she's doing in the shower.
Yeah.
Great.
And the other weird thing is when I shower is I only use body wash on my chest. I don't really wash my back ever, or my legs or my feet. So I'm just like, it's all a fucking like scam because I don't ever wash my back with soap or beauty products and it's clean.
Okay, great.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know about your feet though. I feel like
I
feet
never
should
wash
definitely...
my feet. I'm just in the shower and then I'm out. I mean, I'm in the ocean every day, so this is probably why. But
I'm like a scrub-a-dub-dub.
Yeah. Anyway, back to eating pussy.
Enough of the showering talk.
You got really carried away there. Sorry. So we're muff diving. That's where we're at.
We are muff diving. Yeah.
They're
like
feeling
all up in there.
safe. They got teased. They've been fingered.
Well, I think like the thing is though, we've spoken about fingering probably prematurely because we're not putting fingers in until they're well and truly ready. And we we need to lick them for quite a while.
Yes.
Before.
It's so good being licked before being fingered. Can we just point that out to all the people listening?
I would say it's imperative.
Yeah.
I'd be like, don't you dare put your fingers inside me if you haven't licked me.
But so many people do.
Yeah. Oh my God. So many people are just like hands in pants.
Yes.
And each to their own. But yeah, for me, I'm like, wait.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Please. Just give me a lick. Especially because I feel like it creates some nice lubrication as well. You know, that's really nice to have a lick, have a suck, you know, play around with different tongue tactics, if you will. So what I will say about this, and I brought lollipops again.
And before a lick even, hot breath.
Yeah, yes. And that's in the moment where you're in between their thighs and you're maybe massaging the inner thighs and you might just like breathe. So they have this sense or blow and it's like this sense of presence. And they're like, I know that you're there and I know that you're so close and I need you to touch me. You know, like I want my partner to basically like just go out of their mind craving my touch. I think that's what we really need to kind of get to take from this is that you want to be so turned on rather than like just putting up with touch. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I guess that's fine. Because when your pussy's touched too early, it can kind of feel like a little bit of a shock, a little bit of a jolt. Yeah, really jarring.
Yeah.
So like take your time, tease the person.
I love it when people say go 1/10 of the speed that you would normally go.
Slow down.
Public service announcement. Slow the fuck down.
Slow the fuck down.
Slow the fuck down. Slow the fuck down. Slow the fuck down.
So we've got our lollipops again. And I think that lollipops are actually perfect for demonstrating pussy licking because I am very adamant that I want you to start with a flat, broad tongue licking up like you would a lollipop before you start with any of the flicking and the sucking of the clit, like the entire vulva. I want you to lick from the vaginal opening all the way to the clit with a long flat tongue first. So like, that's it.
Praise kink. Good job, Ellie.
Noted.
That's it.
That's it. Good girl. Okay. So long, broad strokes. Up, up, up. And also you can start to kind of go around the clit as well. There's so many different types of strokes. And
take the tongue cross country.
Take it cross country. You can do a little zigzag. But again, I think it's really important to build up a rhythm. Just like I said in the last episode about sucking cock. You want to build up a rhythm and a bit of a pattern rather than trying every single tip and trick that you've ever heard in one sitting or like in the space of 2 minutes because it's going to be a little bit like discombobulating. You're like, whoa, there's a lot happening. So like take your time to build that up, build that pace.
And while you're doing that, notice what they're doing.
Yes.
So see if their hands are holding onto the sheets, if they're lifting up their hips, if they're squirming.
Yes, definitely.
If they're touching your head.
If they're pulling back a little bit, like that might have been too sensitive. If they're like pushing their hips into you, maybe they want a little bit firmer touch. Always, you know, there's so much room here to check in and go, do you like that type of touch? Do you want it firmer, lighter? Like, go up and have a little suck on their clit and, check in and be like, do you like that? Does that feel good? Rather than just thinking, okay, I've got my sequence and I'm going to go for it.
Because you can go back up and start kissing them and with your fingers, say, do a 2 little pulse on their clit and say, is that too sensitive? Does that feel good?
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of touch do you like? Is it this? Is it this? Is it that? I think that's so hot.
And then you can go back down.
Exactly. Oh, so nice.
And some people love it when you kiss them after you've licked their pussy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all for it. If someone's going down on me and they come up and kiss me.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so hot.
I'm into it.
I'm so into it. It's so hot is like after someone has been fingering you, and especially if you've just come and then they like suck their fingers in front of you, they look up at you and suck their fingers. You're like, oh.
I love doing that, fingering myself and then looking them in the eye and then licking my own fingers.
Hot. How good.
I actually always take videos doing that. I never send them to anyone, but I've got pretty big stash of me doing that.
Brilliant.
Random.
Why not? Just a finger licking good time.
If I die, that's what you can have in my will.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sell them for good money and buy a dog or something, I don't know.
Buy a dog. This is the dog I bought with Ellie's finger licking videos.
Everyone will know if I die and you suddenly get a Great Dane.
They totally will. They're like, these dogs ain't cheap.
And those dogs ain't cheap. She had a lot of videos.
What a great use of your will and testament. I'm about it. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, so we've got the long broad stroke to start, and then you can start doing things with more of a pointed tongue. Because I think often people think of like pussy licking and they're just like, they think of that pointy tongue, and that can be so intense.
Such an ick for you.
It's such an ick. Well, it's more that like if you start with that, I'm like, chill out. But if
they're trying to like recreate a cock or something or a wand and they're putting their pointy tongue in.
Yeah. I'm about it, but it has to like come at the right time. And so then you can use a bit more of a pointy tongue where you're like really sort of flexing your tongue muscles in a way, like pointing. And you can do flicks. You can kind of do a little side to side. I do think it's really nice to sort of have that more pointy tongue just at the entrance of the vaginal canal. So like kind of really like flicking along there. So you're going in slightly and really sort of circling around as well.
And I love sucking on the inner labia because, again, bringing attention to something that people are often really self-conscious of.
Yes, yeah.
And so giving them extra love there and making noises and saying like, this feels so nice. I love your body. Love the way you taste. Love the way you look.
So nice. And then like kissing and sucking on the clit as well can be so nice. I also like this move that's kind of called the vortex, and it's where you sort of create a little suction around the clit, and you're not just like sucking and like trying to like suck it off because that's a lot.
Like a little cock.
Oh gosh, that sounds like a melody pop, which I actually do demonstrate on. I use a melody pop in tongue tactics to demonstrate on. There's also peaches and mangoes and a vulva waffle too.
Oh.
It's got the works. It's a real like gourmet experience.
Yummy for you.
But you can create this like suction around the clit and then also like kind of massage your tongue. You know how like when you're kissing someone and you'll sort of be kissing their lips but then also massaging their tongue with yours?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
I love that so much in kissing, and God, it feels good on the clit.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I love making out with someone's pussy as if I'm making out with their...
Make out with the pussy.
Yeah.
Just make out with the puss.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On board.
Yeah. The bomb.
I said on board.
Motherboard.
Something else that I love, and you have to talk about this before you do it to someone. Big fan of when someone is licking. Okay, so the things that I love, they insert their fingers, 2 fingers max. I don't really want you putting in anymore. Then the hand on the tummy pushing down, that's the best combo. And then taking that hand off after a little while and putting a finger on the rim of my bum. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
So talk me through that again.
So they've got the fingers in the vagina, and then they've got their hand on their tummy pushing down. And so they're sort of like pushing up with those fingers inside and they're pushing down. And then they take this top hand off and insert it into my bum, but not far, just a little like push. Do not put that finger anywhere near the vagina after. That is very important for hygiene.
Yeah, we don't cross-contaminate.
We don't cross-contaminate shit and pussy. But I'm up for doing that to someone and I'm up for receiving it, but it's got to be spoken about before.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing I'm a big fan of is having my partner on all fours and then eating the pussy from behind. That is so good for me.
Such fun.
It's such fun. I love it. I love it when someone sits on my face and I eat the pussy laying down. I love eating pussy laying down. I love eating pussy from behind. I love eating pussy. What can I say? All day, every day, any position.
Breakfast, lunch and dinner. Yeah, pussy, pussy, pussy.
I mean, they do say it's the breakfast of champions.
It is, of course.
Yeah. The other thing that I really enjoy that I think is really fun is tying up the hands. So again, it needs trust and communication. But if you're tied up and eating pussy or like having your pussy eaten, tied up, whoever you are, the receiver or the giver, it's so nice for the receiver to have their hands tied up.
Definitely. It's this element of surrender.
Yes.
Like I trust you and I'm going to fully let go. And I'm also going to just allow myself to receive fully and be like, pleasure is mine.
Yeah.
I love that.
You don't have to do anything. You're just going to receive.
Beautiful. I do think that talking about blended pleasure is really important when we think about any sort of sex, but especially when you're like eating someone out. I love someone eating me out and they've got, maybe a couple fingers in, Spider-Man fingers, of course, getting that G-spot, licking the clit. And then I always need a hand on my titty and like squeezing a nipple.
Oh,
I need that. Like if you don't have a hand on my nipple, I'm like, what are you doing?
I love holding hands. Like,
with my hands. I love that. Like intertwined fingers.
Intertwined fingers while they're eating and like you're sort of like grinding, like moving like a wave and I love that.
Love a little handhold. That's very cute.
It's cute. Yeah, I guess
sometimes like I'll reach down and I'll be like intertwine and like, like squeeze and like arch my back and that's hot. But also like I need the nip. The nip to me, like a lovely little squeeze. That enhances, like I will come almost immediately.
So I put up on Instagram, what are some things that someone going down on you can do or say that massively turn you off? Majority of people have said, have you come? That's like, people do not like that. That's a very, very much so no. So some of the other things are, oh my God, they're all like, are you going to finish soon? Are you almost done? A lot of people don't like the jackhammer, but the finger version. So when you're stuffing it like a chicken.
Yeah, the finger bang is so intense.
A lot of people don't like that, but we don't want to yuck someone else's yum. There's definitely
a lot of people love that as well. There's a time and a place and some people are really into it. And so it's just about checking in what style of like fingering do you like? Is it a finger bang or is it summoning a genie?
This is a good one. Any comparison at all to anyone else. And that's, I am blown away when someone mentions their ex. It's like, I don't give a fuck what your ex-partner liked or didn't like. It's like, talk to me in this moment and find out what I like and don't like.
Yeah, it's so wild. I think that like a lot of that kind of falls under the same banner of pressure and expectation. And so if you're going down on someone, you are learning their body. And so don't you dare pressure them to come in a certain amount of time in a certain way just because that worked for someone that you've been with in the past. Like this is a whole brand new body that you have in front of you. And it's such a pleasure to be in between those legs. So you learn what they like. You don't expect them to come in a certain way.
And don't expect them to come. I know this deep to my core because I work with so many women and vulva owners that do not come. They've never come. And that is totally fine. You can still enjoy the intimacy. And if you are saying things like someone else came a lot quicker, it's going to,
Like this worked for my ex. You're like,
it's going to destroy them.
It's so awful to put that in their head, because a huge factor that is stopping us from really allowing ourselves to orgasm and to experience orgasm is our mind. You know, we have so much happening in our mind that is like, it's too hard. I don't know how to do it. What if they think I'm weird? What if I make a lot of noise? Like there's all these things that we just don't need extra pressure. And pressure is going to be the thing that kills your libido. Pressure and expectation are going to just absolutely sabotage your orgasmic potential. So pleasure is the purpose. We don't need to think that orgasm is the only point of having sex. The point of having sex is pleasure. So allow yourself to enjoy that journey.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, they say that the mind is the largest sex organ. If you are feeling good in your head, and then you can tap into your body and you can enjoy the pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. Make me horny with my mind first and everything will follow suit. If I feel safe and I trust you.
Yeah. And if you've slowed and teased me.
Yeah. Slow the fuck down is like the number one thing. Slow the fuck down.
I just want to ask you something. So when I'm sleeping with a man, I find it a really big turn on when they know how to edge. I really like it when someone's in control of if they come or not, and that they have the control to not be able to edge. What's your opinion on someone with a vulva edging?
Being able to edge, or edging themselves, or edging a partner?
So when they're about to come, being like, no.
Yeah. I think that, so edging is a really, really powerful practice of extending and enhancing orgasm. So you have the power to take yourself to almost just before the point of no return, and then come back down and back off, and then again take yourself up there and back down. And so you kind of create this like wavy profile of your orgasm, and over time it starts to go more and more intense till you hit this peak of pleasure. And that peak of pleasure is higher than it would have been if you came this first time before you backed off. And so it's a really powerful way to have longer sex sessions and more intense orgasms. So I think edging is really, really powerful. For people with vulvas, it's a bit easier. Easier is, a subjective term, but it can be easier for us to have an experience of edging and multiple orgasms. Whereas for a lot of people with penises, edging can be a little bit more of a practice to really, really work on, because multiple orgasms aren't as accessible. But for us, they can be.
Yeah, because I feel like these days, if I'm with someone that I'm really attracted to, I can come quite quickly. And sometimes I'm like, oh, don't do that. It's going to make me come. And then they're like, but you can come multiple times. So why would you not want to come? And it's like...
different type.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, I want to go for longer. I want to experience this for longer. I don't want to just come, because although I can come multiple times, but you get exhausted after like the third time.
And they're different types of orgasms. So we've got these sort of two different types or categories of orgasms. We've got implosive and explosive. So an explosive orgasm is one of those orgasms, typically a clitoral orgasm, where it's relatively easy, relatively quick to stimulate, and it feels like all of the sexual energy is like around and concentrated on the genitals and on the clit. And when you come, it almost feels like that energy has kind of gone out.
Exploded.
It's exploded out of your body. So like an ejaculatory orgasm is also explosive in nature. It leaves the body. And then, there's a lot of spiritual, more esoteric concepts that talk about this idea of like the sexual energy leaving your body. And that's why you often will feel depleted or tired, or like quite sleepy after one of those types of orgasms, because the energy has gone out. Whereas an implosive orgasm is where the energy isn't just focused on your genitals, but it can really rise and move through your body. It can feel quite wavy and expansive. And so that's more of like an internal orgasm. It tends to be like a vaginal orgasm, cervical orgasm. G-spot can be internal or external, implosive, explosive. You can train yourself as well. There's lots of like tantric practices and stuff that you can do to explore different types of orgasms. But typically an internal, a vaginal orgasm is going to feel more implosive, where the energy, the orgasm feels as though it's moving up through your body, almost like all the way to your extremities or like out
Like
to your head.
A whole body orgasm.
Like a full body orgasm.
Full body orgasm.
Where you're like, oh my gosh, my brain exploded from this orgasm. I came so hard.
That's sort of what I'm saying. Like when they're playing with my clit at the beginning too much, and I'm like, don't do that. I'm going to come.
Exactly, because that's explosive.
Yes.
And you're like, if I've exploded, my energy's gone.
And then they're like, but so what's wrong with that? Just come. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. I want it to last longer. And I want it to feel like a whole body orgasm.
You want to channel that energy so that it moves up and through your body and it's more powerful and more like nourishing.
And if I have intimacy and don't come, sometimes I use that energy throughout the rest of the day. Like, I just like hold on to it and I feel like I'm like gliding through the streets.
Yeah, you're like creative and you've got like all this energy and these ideas.
Yeah.
It's so great.
You know what? I think it's 70% of people can't come from penetration. So they have to have clitoral stimulation. Yeah. And so I don't want to make those people feel like bad. I'm talking about my experience personally.
There's no hierarchy.
There's no hierarchy. It's all orgasms are good. But what I'm saying is I come quite quickly, probably because my whole life is sex. Like I talk about sex all day. I'm turned on all day.
Yeah.
I'm making videos.
I'm talking about licking pussy.
Yeah. So I am easily turned on in the bedroom because I'm turned on in life.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm just saying that, sometimes I need you to slow down.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a really, really good point, because you can experience that deeper orgasm, but only if you've sort of edged yourself to get there and to build that sexual energy and move it throughout your body.
And if you are struggling to orgasm, I do want to invite you to bring in a toy.
Yeah,
this is
definitely
not a sales pitch because I sell toys, but I do think that sometimes when you are struggling to feel pleasure, it's okay to try different things.
Definitely.
So you don't need to feel shame to bring in a vibrator or bring in a glass wand. You know, they're really beautiful for connection.
Yeah.
You know, you can heat it up before. If it's a bit cold, you can insert it. There's so many different little toys and tools that you can do if you're struggling to orgasm.
Yeah, I think that it's more about like what helps you experience the most pleasure. And there's this myth that it should be like, oh, my dick should do it all, or like my fingers should be enough, or like it should just be all a cappella, but acoustic style. But we have so many different things that we can add in, and I think that just makes it even more delicious. So feel free.
What do you think about using a toy all the time? Do you think that it desensitizes you?
So no, I don't, because that is like quite scientifically incorrect information. A lot of people will talk about this idea that your clit will get desensitized from overuse of vibrators. It doesn't get desensitized. Like, you're not going to kill nerve endings. It's not how it works. It's not
we have
scientifically
nerve
true.
endings in our hands, right?
Yeah, we're not overusing them. We're not like, suddenly I can't feel anything. And so that's definitely a myth. But what is true is that you can build a neural pathway that teaches you, this is the way that I come, and this is the way that I've always come, and so this is the way that I'm going to continue to come. And so you can start to almost like rely on that's the way. And my body doesn't know any other way. It hasn't built any other neural pathways in order to come in different ways from different types of stimulation. And so that's why I always recommend switching up your self-pleasure routine. Yeah. If you've only been using the exact same vibe in the exact same way for years now, like, try a glass wand, try seducing yourself and like giving yourself a breast massage and taking your time. if you keep using the same technique again and again, it's going to be so much harder for you when you try something new, or if you're with a partner and suddenly you're having sex that is totally different from the way that you usually masturbate. And then you put this pressure on yourself, or they put pressure on you to come in this brand new way that you've never experienced before. It's not helpful. So try different things, explore, try different positions, like stand up, sit down, finger yourself in the shower.
Lay on a pillow, grind a pillow.
Have a little grind moment, have a little hump.
Corner of a table, that's quite nice to grind.
Oh, good times. With like a t-shirt or something, like to cover so it's not too hot. That's what I would do as a kid. Yeah. I had to be grinding the corner of the sofa. So like try different things, different ways, and even
bath.
Oh, yes.
The pressure of the tap.
Yeah, like
lay
shower
with your
hose.
legs, with your feet on each side of the bath and put it there, or a shower head. Oh, there's so many different ways.
So many different ways. And I think I would say as well, for people who are struggling to come with a partner, but they can make themselves come quite reliably in their own masturbation session, I really encourage you to switch up your masturbation and try and almost mimic the way in which you're having sex with your partner, and vice versa. So with a partner, say, hey, this is the way that I masturbate. I want to show you, and I want you to try it on me. So you can kind of go both ways here and explore how to sort of expand the ways in which you experience pleasure and build more of those like pleasure-centered neural pathways.
Yeah, love it. Thanks for coming in today. Absolutely love and adore everything you do. You are my brain, if that makes sense. you say all the things that I think.
Amazing.
You just put it together way better. So can you tell us what your course entails for Tongue Tactics and give us a Dizzy code?
Absolutely, I can. Okay, so Tongue Tactics is a short course on tips and tricks for going down. I've got BJ Queen edition and I've got Pussy Pro edition. So if you want to learn how to lick, blow, suck, go down on whoever you want. They are all gender inclusive. So regardless of your gender or the gender of the person that you're going down on, I've got you covered. So I've got those two versions, and we've got the discount code for the Comfortable in My Skin community, which is CIMS, CIMS, for 20% off. I would love to have you, and just check out the link in the show notes as well. You can find all of the info, but also I encourage you to go through the testimonials because I've got hundreds now and they are the most fun thing ever. And if you take Tongue Tactics, I need you to slide into my DMs and give me a little update on your antics because I love hearing the stories.
Okay, so one of my tips for eating pussy like a boss is getting them to sit on your face while you masturbate yourself. So therefore you guys can come at like the same time. Because I often find that, if my partner's going down on me or I'm going down on her, like our orgasms are like it's one after the other. Whereas like if they're sitting on your face, then you get to come together. And I think that's amazing. And I love that.
So I now want everyone to repeat after me. I am unique. I am worthy of pleasure. My body is mine. I am comfortable in my skin. And remember that I love you.